All right, so Lions keep their season alive. Dominant win over the Cowboys. Look, it was both sides of the football. It was complementary football. Offense, especially in the pass protection, played a lot better. It looked a lot better. Jared Goff had plenty of time in those play action, in those direct snap in those shotgun throws. Like he was diamond. He was throwing darts. 309 yards with a touchdown. He had Amon-Ra with 92 yards on 6 catches. J-Mo had a great game, 7 catches for 96 yards. Even Tesla got involved with a couple of catches, 20 yards. Gibbs with 7 catches for 77 yards. Like, can we just say this here, okay? Jahmyr Gibbs, I think I mentioned this maybe last week or maybe a couple of weeks ago. Jahmyr Gibbs is right now the offensive player of the year, and as far as I'm concerned, it's not all that close. I mean, you could say, Jackson Smith and Jigba makes a case, and that's good. He's great. But Gibbs is putting on an elite performance at both the running back position and the receiver position when he's catching balls out in the flat, or when he's just running, when he's design passes to him. He's playing at an absolutely elite level, and he is just incredible. And he didn't even have that great of a game on the ground. He had 12 carries for 43 yards. He did have 3 touchdowns, but his per yard carry was only 3.6. But again, it's tomato. The guy got 3 touchdowns, and that's a huge factor in the game. Defensively, finally the pass rush came alive. Bob Muhammad, shout out Al-Quadin, got 3 sacks. He now leads the team with 9.5 sacks on the year, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And as much as Aiden Hutchinson didn't really show up on the box score, just a couple of tackles for him, or a couple solo tackles for him, he did play a role, and I know this is becoming now a point of contention among fans. He did play a role in bringing a lot of pressures on Dak Prescott, and those pressures did result in Al-Quadin getting to the quarterback. So, I think Aiden Hutchinson on the stat sheet, it doesn't look like a great game, but if you actually go and you look at the plays, you look at what he was doing, he was playing well. Jack Campbell, again, all I do is talk about how great this guy is. He should have had a safety in this game, but the refs decided to give him a steal. DJ Reed played a solid game as well, had a couple of passes deflected, and obviously he had the game-sealing interception. Avonte Maddox comes in, gets 6 solo tackles. He played pretty well in for the injured Thomas Harper. Now, speaking of injuries, unfortunately, the Lions lose another star on defense, namely Brian Branch. He's done for the year, torn Achilles. That is brutal. Because you're already down Kirby Joseph. You don't know exactly when he's coming back. If you could get Kirby Joseph back either this week or next week, you think, okay, it's basically a wash. You lose Branch, you get Joseph. So you lose one all-pro safety, you get a new all-pro safety. Not saying it's great, but it works. You can live with the loss of Brian Branch if you're getting Kirby Joseph back. And frankly, getting Kirby Joseph back preferably before this Rams game, because he's a bit of a ball hawk, and to get turnovers on Matthew Stafford, that's going to really help you out in a game where he's going to be slinging the ball, 25, 30 times, assuming that the game is, really getting out of reach. However, even with the win, the Lions are still on the outside looking in. And I don't know exactly what the odds are right now, because obviously Monday Night Football and, the rest of the Sunday games. But basically the odds are somewhere in the 50-50 range, you'd say. I could probably look it up right now, but I'm not going to do that. Basically, let's just take it. It's about a 50-50 shot the Lions get in at this point in the season. And down the stretch, they got the Rams on the road. That's going to be probably the toughest game left on the schedule. Then you go back home, final home game of the year, take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're a team that's going to be fighting for a playoff spot and a division spot as well. So they're also in a mode where they feel like they can't lose any games. Then you're going to have to play the Vikings on a short rest on Christmas. Now, granted, at that point, the Vikings will probably be eliminated from playoff contention, but, even if they aren't, they're probably going to be out of it. And then finally, you got the Bears on the road. So you got 3 pretty, I'd say 3 games that are going to be tough. Because even if you say the Vikings are going to be totally out of it, it's still a divisional game, it's still on the road, and it's still on short rest. The Steeler game, frankly, if you don't win that game, then you definitely aren't going to make the playoffs unless you win unless you win 3 out of the 4. Basically, you got to win 3 out of those 4. And can they win 3 out of those 4? Absolutely, they can. I mean, they definitely can beat the Vikings. They definitely can beat the Steelers. And then it's just, can they beat the Rams or the Bears? And I think at the very least, we've seen them beat the Bears. So we know that it's possible. And as far as the Rams go, it is going to technically be on the road, but at best, it's a neutral site game. And maybe you think, okay, month of December, Lions get hot. Their offensive line looked a lot better against a good defensive line in Dallas. Maybe they figure something out. Maybe they get the communication right. Maybe the personnel has been, dealt with. Maybe you get Christian Mahogany back and Kirby Joseph. There is a scenario, and I think a pretty plausible scenario, that despite the 50% odds, that, my heart and my head align and say, actually, it might be more than 50% that they can make the playoffs. I guess, my thought is this. I know that the odds say 50%, but to me, it would be so beyond the pale of a complete and utter failure that this team does not even at least get a 7 seed. That I just simply, and maybe this is just the fan talking, I just simply can't see it happening. If they flat out don't make the playoffs. Now, granted, if they go 10-7 and they don't make the playoffs, am I really going to be super pissed? I mean, I'll be disappointed, but 10-7, usually you make the playoffs most seasons, but this isn't most seasons, as it turns out. Now, you end up going 9-8, then no, then it will be absolutely disappointed. My feeling is this. While the odds are 50%, I feel a little bit more than 50%. I feel like it's probably, I think it's probably closer to 60% in my mind. Meaning, probably going to end up the Lions make the playoffs, but there's a very plausible scenario where they don't. So I want to know what you guys think. Are you higher than that 50%? Are you lower than that 50%? Are you thinking this team is going to just completely collapse in the month of December and not bounce back from a tough month of November? I got a feeling they will. I think they got the culture. I think they do got the guys. And I think this Thursday night game, this was a game they had to have it. I think, they were back against the wall. I think a lot of people were down on this team. They said this was going to be where it ends, and it didn't. And it didn't just not end. They came alive. And the flaws of the team throughout the month of November that were showing themselves, whether it's the pass rush, whether it's the offense, they certainly weren't showing it this game. And now, granted, obviously, they gave up 30 points defensively. Understood. Dallas has got a good offense, and Detroit is probably going to have to just really outscore guys, and the offense is going to have to get it going. But hey, man, worst teams have made the playoffs, I guess, is my thought. And it would just be an utter travesty if this team goes from 15-2 to not making the playoffs. And I just don't think they're going to allow that to happen. I don't know. I don't think Dan Campbell is going to have his guys not be prepared to be able to win the games they need to win to get in there. Now, granted, it won't entirely be in their control, but my head and my heart are telling me that they will make the playoffs, but I think it's going to come at the stress. I'm going to be stressed out down this whole thing. I think everybody's going to be stressed. Until they clinch, people are going to be stressed. And with that said, I will say, we are really going to set up for that final game to be another Sunday night football game to win and you're in. I could very well see that being the scenario. I hope it's not. I hope it's just a 1:00 game and it's meaningless and we've already clinched by that point. But hey, it's the NFL, man. They love to put on a show. So let's just hope the Lions can get it done. For everybody's sake. I think everybody wants them to make the playoffs. Once they make the playoffs, if they don't do anything, okay, I think people will be upset, but I don't think it'll be total catastrophe. Hey, YouTube, if you like clips like that, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We've got live shows every Tuesday night. Hope to see you there.